Hi guys, welcome back to Just Now Rant, a podcast about, I don't know, but it's our podcast and we're here to talk about whatever we want to talk about. And today we're going to do an episode in English because it's been like months since our last episode in English. And if you don't know, when we first started, we did everything in English. It was very recently that we kind of switched to content in Vietnamese, which I'm so glad because, I love reaching to other people. I love that my podcast is now, not our podcast is now successful, moderately successful. And I love that. But sometimes I just miss, speaking English, especially me. I don't really have the chance, the opportunity to like ever speak this language, like ever. But anyway, we're going to do this episode in English. And if you don't understand English or you don't want to listen to this episode, just rewatch like the last episode, which was a prank.
Oh my god.
Like that was
I think we need to reintroduce ourselves because we were different people the last time we were here. So this is not my Paris and Wouldn't Feel It. I'm Queen and I have my here. Yep. And we're gonna go back to our regular personality.
I hope you enjoyed the last episode. We definitely had a lot of fun. Did you have a lot of fun? I did. Yeah. I love being my Paris. Like she's so she's so ridiculous and like so girl boss and like so inspiring at the same time. I just love her so much. What do you think of her?
Anyway,
like, would you welcome my Paris to this podcast again?
Oh yeah, if I need the views, for sure. We would not be friends though. I cannot do that.
She's like basically like an anti-feminist, an anti-LGBT, and like a capitalist.
Right. If she, I mean, like my parents, hypothetically, she is very rich, right? If she is willing to sponsor this podcast, anything can happen. I can be friends with her for sure.
Okay. Anyway, what are we going to talk about today?
We're just gonna talk about things we wish we knew before we turned 20. And we are 22 now. We were born in 2000, and by the time we turned 20, it was actually 2020, and a lot of things happened, as we all knew. And I think one of the hallmark of me kind of slowly growing up and entering adulthood was actually employing having a coffee every day, or I would say a caffeinated beverage. I would have like a matcha green tea when I'm feeling healthy that day, but usually it's coffee. And I don't know, for some reason I didn't drink coffee when I was in high school. It was only until I entered college that I started drinking coffee pretty much every day. And
I think I started drinking coffee like since high school because I need coffee to survive. If you remember our experience in high school, it was not good. And I had a lot of homework that I, for the life of me, could not finish if I want to. If I want to have like an 8-hour sleep every night, like it will be impossible to do that and finish the homework and like go to school and like do all the activities. Like it's just impossible. So that's why I need coffee. I need a coffee so much, right? I guess like that's the same for a lot of our classmates too. Like we all have like very fucked up should I say that? Very messed up sleep. I don't know why I was so shocked by me saying the F word. It's not like I've never cursed on this podcast before. Like I've been so vulgar.
Yeah, I think this is like the 27th time you curse on this podcast or something. So don't worry about it. Anyways, I have developed into like a coffee snob, if you will.
Oh my god, like those people. Like, are you one of them? Are you one of them? Like one of those people who are like, oh, I cannot drink coffee with milk or sugar.
No. I'm not one of those. God. Because I love my lattes.
Those people are abominable. Like, stop doing that. Like we know you can drink coffee without sugar or without milk. Like, it's fine. It's not that special.
Just let people drink whatever they want. But I'm saying like coffee snob is like, I feel like I have learned to appreciate coffee a little bit more.
Is that snobbery though?
No, I'm not actually a snob.
Okay.
People might consider.
So you are a coffee connoisseur.
Yeah.
Right.
And so like what I do now is like I grind my beans fresh every time I drink
Oh,
it.
okay.
And I have like a, like a gooseneck kettle where I slowly pour the water in and stream it in. I use a scale to weight my beans and
Oh my
weight the
God.
water to.
So you have a ritual?
I do have a ritual.
Can you take me through that? Like, what do you do when you wake up? Like, do you make a
So
coffee like,
here's the thing.
instantly or?
It depends on the day, right? Usually,
Mhm.
if it's a weekday, I don't do the whole ritual. I would make like a big cold brew concentrated coffee and I put it in the fridge. And if it's, and when I go to school, I just like take a little bit of the concentrate and add a little bit of plant milk and, a little more water to top it off. So it wouldn't be too strong. And I just take that to school so that I would get some caffeine in my system. But if it was the weekend and I have time, I would actually first like weigh 20 grams of fresh coffee beans and I grind it with a specific grind setting for the setup that I'm using. So it depends on the day. Sometimes if I'm feeling I'm having like a pour over, I would have more beans and I would grind it coarser. And I would stream in water slowly and until I have the right ratio. But if I'm feeling like a latte that day, I would grind less beans, but finer, and put it in my mocha pot and make like a strong brew coffee that resemble an espresso. And I would froth my oat milk and have that as a latte because I'm making latte art too, apparently. So yeah, it's a lot. But right now, I think that my best advice with coffee is like, do not ever buy decaf. Don't spend your money on that shit. It's not worth it.
To me, I just never understand why people would do that. Okay, so you have the good coffee, right? And then you do something to it to take out the most delicious thing in the coffee, which is the caffeine, right? And then you
Yeah.
have a bad coffee that tastes like water and bitter,
Yeah.
right?
'Cause
Like, why would you do
hypothetically,
that? Like, and like you have to pay more for that, right? And like,
right.
what
But that
is this
some
whole thing?
people
What is the deal?
some people they want to have the taste of coffee but without the caffeine because they're sensitive or something. I
Just
don't
drink
have that
tea.
problem. But like maybe if they do, then sure, like get decaf. But I'm feeling like the decaf thing is more like a gimmick. Like I feel like it's more of a marketing scheme than actually a type of coffee that you would want to enjoy. Because
Mhm.
like why wouldn't you need coffee? Why wouldn't you need the caffeine, right? Like that's the reason I'm drinking coffee.
Right. If you crave coffee so much, just
Just
drink
don't
coffee.
just drink the
Like
fucking coffee.
I don't get it. Like why would people like go this far
Yeah.
to
So
drink something so bad?
I went through a phase where I was like, I need to get my sleep routine together. And I bought the bag of decaf and I was like, this is going to help for sure. And it didn't. I still couldn't sleep at night, but in the morning when I need the coffee to wake me up, the caffeine is not there. I just drink like coffee bean juice without the caffeine, and that is the saddest thing ever. And my
That's so
energy level.
gross. That is so gross. And I'm so sorry that you have to go through that. Yeah, like that's so sad.
Yeah, I'm glad that decaf is not really a thing in Vietnam, right? Because I've never seen that kind of coffee in Vietnam.
Yes, please don't do that. Like that should be banned.
Yeah, don't waste your money on it. And it's like it's not healthier. Okay, first of
Mhm.
all, not healthier, not helpful at all. More
Okay.
expensive. Doesn't even taste that good. Don't spend your money on it.
Mm.
Anyways, what is your second thing, like your point
I don't know,
about?
maybe sleep. Like
Yeah.
sleep is so important and like you need sleep. But like my thing with sleep is that I love sleeping. I just don't like going to sleep. Like what am I supposed to do between the time, I between going to sleep and falling asleep? What am I supposed to do during that time? Like not doing anything. Like it's so distracting. Like
I
I just
know,
cannot do it. Like going to sleep is so hard.
and that's
Raise your
why.
hand if you have like this problem because I don't think I'm the only one. And like should we do something about this? Because what are we gonna say to the aliens when they visit us and they'd be like, oh, like you've been on this earth for like millions of years and like you still haven't figured this out? We cannot let this happen. Right from the bottom of my heart, I honestly think that all the leading scientists should just stop focusing on like climate change or like politics or whatever. I don't care. You need to solve this. Like this is the one important question of the human race. We need to solve this. Like what are we supposed to do during that time? Right? It's so hard.
And I think it's like it's my downfall because you know, like just lying there waiting to feel sleepy and eventually fall asleep. It's just so boring that I started to pick up my phone and go on Instagram.
Right.
Yeah, and I scroll around until I was like, I'm so sleepy, I cannot handle it anymore. And that is when I put it down. But by the time I put my phone down, it would be too late. Like that would
Right.
be like 2 in the morning, and I have to
Right.
wake up like at 7 or something, and like I cannot do that. But it's so boring just to like lie there and wait for something to happen so that you can go to sleep.
This is why I need ASMR. Like it's so fun, and like at the same time you can like just lie there and like listen, and then you will fall asleep. Like
Oh, your like role play ASMR?
yeah, like strict professor confess everything to you. Yeah, that's what I like to listen to.
Oh my God.
Okay, I have a thing for strict middle-aged men punishing me. Okay, that's enough. Okay, moving on to the next thing. Like, what would you tell your younger self?
I think it's boundaries, setting boundaries with other people, and
Uh-huh.
even when they're like your family or friends. Because there's, I don't know if it's just me, but there's this kind of mindset that I employ for a really long time. That's like if it's your family or your friends, and then you should know everything about each other.
Mhm.
And I kind of pressure myself into like, oh, if they ask me something, I should share, even when I'm uncomfortable with
Right,
sharing that. And at the same time, I was like expecting the other person to share it with me too.
right,
And usually I would get disappointed because obviously, why would they share it with me?
right.
Right? And that's why like when I was in my teenage year, I struggle a lot with like friendships because I feel like I couldn't build a strong bond with other people because I didn't know what boundary was. And yeah, and like most of my family is like kind of weird. My mom is like, my mom always wants to know what I'm up to. Like if I'm in my room, and close the door, she would open the door and sit by my room just to see what I'm doing in there.
Okay, so the one who doesn't have any sense of boundaries is her. Like that's
Yeah,
yeah. And
yeah.
like that's my experience with her too. So I would I don't know, I attest to what you say. I don't know, I think boundaries are very important to set up with people around you. If you're hearing something weird in the background, it's my neighbors. Are they fighting?
Hmm?
Okay, whatever. I think boundaries are really important, and like knowing your boundaries, and knowing the boundaries of other people are so important to a good and healthy relationship. But when we were younger, like it wasn't a thing, and like nobody talked about boundaries, and nobody talked about like like what a healthy relationship is supposed to look like, whether it's friendship, whether it's your relationship with your coworkers, and like we didn't know about any of this stuff, and I wish I knew it earlier because it would help me so much, and especially with the red flags.
Oh my
Like
God,
back
the
in the
red
day,
flag.
I ignored like all the red flags, like so many red flags, and I guess because I didn't have a strong sense of boundaries, so that's why I allow people to invade my space and allow myself to do the same thing to other people, and I do regret that. But at the same time, like what could I have done, right? Because you don't know what you don't know. It's just
Right. It's very tricky for sure. Because like we were not taught about this, right? And we learned this the hard way. And
we
I'm
did.
still kind of recovering from that, not fully. I don't know if I would recover fully 100% from it. It's just like, I don't know. I just wish someone told me that so that I didn't have to go through that whole experience of like getting hurt and like traumatized and cry and all of that.
I'm so sad for other people that we have met in life who have not realized how important these stuffs are. And yeah, like I just hope that one day like this would become like kind of mainstream, even though there are definitely problems with something becoming too mainstream, right? But I don't think it's gonna outweigh the benefit that it will bring to your life and to that of other people. So yeah, I hope that this will get more popular in like Vietnamese internet spaces.
And it's like I moved out. I think I don't live with my family since I was 17.
That's
And
like
I feel like
6 years.
yeah, and I feel like it does wonders for our relationship because, like, as I told you, my mom doesn't really have a good sense of boundaries. And I'm the kind of person that's like, I get really uncomfortable when people are just like up to my face all the time, which my mom is. And
I mean, who would?
but some people have like a high tolerance for it. I don't. I just get really uncomfortable. Anyways, I feel like that's kind of like the root of our conflicts growing up. And when I moved out, it's also the distance that, like she felt like other than wanting to fight with me, she wanted to like, I don't know, care for me more because we're not physically together. It really helps with our relationship. And I think when I was younger, I didn't know that like kind of like knowing when to distance yourself from other people was that important to the stability and the quality of the relationship.
But like in a weird way, we also didn't know when to pull the people closer to us, and confide in them, right? Like we push people away when we need them, and we cannot distance ourselves from other people when we need to distance ourselves from other people. I think it's something we learn during our younger years. And because we were so lonely, we were so like depressed during 3 years in high school, at least for me. So that's why when we have other people around us, we try to hold on to that so much, because what if I distance myself from them and I fall back into this depressive period of my life, right? So it comes from fear, and I can blame myself for that, because like of course you would do that, right? It's just a human nature, that's just normal. But at the same time, I also wish like I knew more about like what like a healthy relationship should be, and like try to better my relationship with other people, because I did other people so much wrong, right?
Yeah, we both did.
Right. And like for example, like Hung, like if you listen to the episode with him, I did him so dirty, right? I basically bullied him like so much. I still feel very sorry about that. And of course, like we're now like friends, good friends. But still, if I can go back in time and tell something to myself when I was in high school, it's probably gonna be something along the line of stop bullying people. Being edgy is not cool. Like you're being so cringy. Like this is not how you treat other people. Stop trying to be someone you're not, right? And like look into yourself, try to heal, go to therapy or something. Well, it's not really that accessible in Vietnam, but still, yeah, I would tell myself something along that line. Yeah, because I really regret that I was very nice to other people when I was in high school. Like, listen to us speaking about all these things now. Like, you think like, oh, like you guys are like kind of flawed people, but like kind of good, right? But like when I was in high school, like, I was so shitty to other people, right? And I don't want to justify myself by saying, hurt people, but it's true. Like I've been hurt in the past, I've been bullied in the past, and I guess I replicate that to other people, and that's so toxic and unhealthy. And I don't know, like don't know exactly what I want to say here, but I hope you get what I want to say.
Yeah, it's like to me too, it's like similar things. Though I didn't spend the whole 3 years in Vietnam. When I moved abroad, things changed. I became very different, probably because of the environmental change and
Like how different?
culture. I just become very distant from everyone.
Well, that's like me in when you went away in high school.
Yeah, the
It's like,
attitude was like, I don't care about any of you. And I sometimes act rude to other people just because I feel like, I don't get a chance to do this elsewhere. But usually I wouldn't say anything and I wouldn't give a shit about what people are doing. And as long as it doesn't really affect me, even though it's like something wrong has happened to other people and I could have had a say in it or stop it, I wouldn't say anything.
Do you
I would
know
just,
those moments
yeah,
where you said something wrong, something mean to someone, and like in that moment you realize that it's mean, right? But like you just cannot bring yourself to saying sorry or bring yourself
yeah.
to doing anything kind.
Mm-hmm.
And like the only way you can do that is to brush it off. I experienced that like so many times in high school, and I still wonder why. Like of course, I understand. Like I went through a lot of shit in high school, but still, I do care about other people. Why do I had to act like that? Why do I have to create this, this person, right? Why do I have to do that to hurt the people? And like, I guess like the 文化准军 really fucked up with me and kind of pressure me in a way alongside with other system of oppression to become someone that I'm not, to become rude to the people, to become like cold and mean and all sort of thing. But like I don't know, I still feel like I wish I called out for help. Like I wish I got help from like either professionally or just from other people around me. And I do regret that. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, like the part where I regret the most is that I was bullied, so I knew how much it hurts. I
Mm,
knew exactly, like when I do this to other people, how that would affect them. The way it messed me up too. But I still did it, and I guess a part of me kind of wanted them to get hurt too,
like,
because there's
like
no
when you
other
hurt
way.
someone and it makes you feel like some sort of way, like oh, like you're above them, and like it feels good to peg someone down.
I guess another thing with me is that because I was hurt, I felt like nothing else can make up for the hurt that I experienced. And the only way that that can just kind of go away is by me attacking other people, and they have to experience the same horrible things too, so that my terrible experience would be more tolerable.
Mhm.
And I does that to my sisters a lot. It's just like really sad, especially with my youngest sisters. We are similar in so many ways. If you look at my childhood photos, we look so similar. And we're both left-handed. We are both like, I don't know, like there are many things that are similar between us. And we're both, one of the things I regret the most is that we're both chubby, we're both fat. And I made fun of her for that. And it's just so, and when I did that, I knew exactly what it would does to her because I was made fun of the same way. I was treated the same way just because I was fat. And I knew everything. And also, like, she's my sister. She's very young, right? Like, I don't know, like 13 years old or something. And I knew that, but I still wronged her. And I know that, like, if it wasn't her, there's no other people I can do this to. I don't know any other fat person that I have this power over to wrong them and not having them to like hit me or scream at me.
A lot
I
of the
knew,
things that you and I talked about have to do with shame. And like this quote, and is violence is the attempt to replace shame with self-esteem. And I think it applies so much to me. Like, for example, okay, let's take you as an example. When you did that to your little sister, is your attempt to replace the shame of being shamed about your body with self-esteem. Like I'm feeling better because I now can shame someone for being fat, right? And that's what violence is. That's literally the definition of violence. It's truly an attempt to prove your self-esteem to yourself by replacing the shame with that feeling of power, feeling of like capability, like I can do this, I'm not powerless, I'm not helpless. And like
right,
that is such an unhelpful and like toxic way to deal with shame. But usually it's with shame is always very tricky because it's an emotion that we don't talk about like ever because for some reason, it's very shameful to admit that you are ashamed of yourself.
Yeah.
It's very shameful to admit that you are ashamed. Like, I don't know why, but it's very shameful. There's something so shameful about that. And like, we just don't talk about that. Like, it's such a taboo in our society. Like, we talk about guilt a little bit, but not about
Not
shame,
really.
right? But like,
Yeah.
not even
Usually it's
that
like
much, right?
anger and sadness.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Are
if you
the
like guilt,
two negative.
shame, like just push it down, like put it into a bottle, throw it into the sea, never see it again, never talk about it again. It's always like that. The way that we dealt with shame and with shaming, right? Because the when someone is ashamed of themselves, it presupposes that there has been shaming inflicted on them, right? So there has to be shaming before feeling ashamed, right? And the way we dealt with feeling ashamed of ourselves about whatever is so unhealthy, especially in high school when we bully other people and make them feel ashamed. We shame them, right? Somebody shamed us, and then we shame other people to, as an attempt to alleviate, to escape from shame. But it's not going to work, right? It's going to perpetuate the same vicious cycle. Now that we realize that it was a bit too late, but I think it's not too late, right? Because if you, I guess I didn't share this in the episode with Hung. I wrote an apology letter to Hung, and we talked about that before recording, and like we talked like in length about our feelings, and now we're like pretty good friends, right? So that's comment down below if you want us to talk about Hung or any of the other guests. We'll do like Q&As or whatever, like, if you want. Honestly, if you have like any ideas, just DM us on Instagram, because like we're running out of ideas. Like we were talking about like doing an episode on Gun Bang Hua because we don't have any possible idea for this episode. Anyway, what was I talking about? I don't know. Okay, what's the next thing?
What's the next thing? I think we've said all the things, but I want to elaborate on the thing with my sisters.
Mm-hmm.
Is that for some reason they look up to me, which is
so
I think it's
weird. Oh my god,
that is so unfortunate. That is so unfortunate.
So like in a way, like when you bully them, they kind of admire your sort of power, right? And they look up to you.
I mean,
but at the same
it's
time, like your parents told them to look up to you because like look at her, she's like doing this and that. She's gone to this school and that school, and like it's just a weird position for you to be in. And also like it's weird for us as well because I do feel like when we bully someone, like especially our classmate, they kind of take it and like they kind of admire us. When we talked to Tui or Hung, like there was a short period when they tried to assimilate themselves into our conversation, right? They tried to please us.
Yeah, they seek validation.
And I feel so bad. I feel so bad that they experienced that I did that to them. Like I feel so bad. Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, it's kind of unfortunate that my sister looked up to me.
Like in what way? Like
I
academically
don't know.
or
They listen to what I say. Like if my parents say something, they might resist that idea. Like maybe like, no, I don't want to do it. But if I say it, they would do it.
Well, okay, so a positive way to look at this is that maybe you're like the lesser of the three devils. I don't know,
so.
maybe.
So. I mean, like that's like we don't have like the most healthy family dynamics. Just put it that way. But for some weird reason, my sister usually listen to what I say, and for some weird reason too, my parents listen to what I say on occasions. It depends on the situation, but a lot of the time, my mom would ask for my advice, quote unquote. It's not really advice, but she would ask me for my opinions. And my dad, well, he's a different kind of situation. But usually, if it's not something like getting married or something, usually if it's like, should I buy this or what should I do when I call that person? If I say something, he would actually follow me, but not my mom. So in my family, it's a really weird situation where I actually do have some kind of power over the rest of the people. And it's like
so strange.
It's so strange. And a lot of the time they held me up to the standards That's like, even when I was like little, like my mom and my dad never have to worry about like how am I doing in school. They always worry about my sisters. They like check up on them and contact the teachers and everything. But for me, they never cared. And I got a lot of freedom from that. And then I moved abroad. Obviously, I have so much freedom. They don't even know what I'm doing here anymore. But in their mind, they think that I am a very independent and successful and like I know what I'm doing and I will get to where I want to go. And success is just like 5 steps away.
Which you kind of are. Like you are that girl, right?
I,
Like when
I
you
am.
look through like TikTok and you see like that trend, like do you know that trend? Like
What is the trend? Is that the girl that like gets up and have a morning
yeah,
routine?
right. I feel like you kind of like that, you know, like you have
I am
your
kind of like
latte
that.
aesthetic, like avocado toast, like healthy food, like vegan, of course, and like tote bag, and like going to school and we wake up early in the morning to do
I,
homework and things like that. And like having a ritual with your coffee, drinking,
that's
whatever.
correct.
Like you are kind of that girl.
I am. But I
Yeah.
think people need to unfold other things. Like things I would post on Instagram, it's like when I have the mind to, and like if it's in my, gallery, I can have that.
Like,
But usually it's not that. Like I don't wake up early in the morning. I don't make myself a nice latte every day. I don't fucking do that. And like, yeah, it's like there's a lot of things to unfold. And even though I'm doing really well in school, and I'm getting somewhere as a scientist. I'm
mm,
probably gonna be a scientist. And
oh, good for you.
yeah, I'm gonna what well years later when you say, oh, I wish leading scientists was figured it out. I'm the leading scientist. So brace yourself, okay? Get ready. But anyways, it's just like we need to unfold that too. And I don't know. And like in a way, if it was me in my teenage years, this is the life I want to live. This is the person I want to be. I want it to be like, I want to do well at school. I want to have to do my little creative thing. I want to have this life where I'm independent. I'm not controlled by my parents and I get to do whatever I want. And I obviously don't have a financial constraint whatsoever. And
Oh
it's
my God. Okay, this
right.
is so random, but like I just realized that this is our 60th
I
cast
know.
episode.
I
Wait,
know.
wait, should we celebrate it?
I don't know.
Should we celebrate it? Like, because we just passed like 2K, which is pretty
Yeah,
good.
can you just like insert that little background music when people sing congratulations
Dun, dun,
with like
dun, dun, dun,
fireworks?
dun, dun.
What the fuck?
Like this is
Yeah.
what being having ADHD is like.
Yeah, anyways, what I was saying is that like I don't know, I think I just kind of wished when I was younger I knew that even when it's hypothetically ideal, it's not really like there's a lot to unfold. And I think it's just more helpful to not really create an ideal version of myself and trying to
Mm,
reach that when I don't even really know what it means.
right.
Yeah.
Just get
Anyway,
help.
yeah, just get some
Get help.
help.
Like,
If
can you
I
imagine, like, if when we were in like high school and then everyone talked about like this kind of stuff, right? Like openly and honestly, we would be like so like such good friends and like trying to fight like all of these terrible things in high school
Mhm.
together, and that would be so cool, right? But like that would never happen, of course.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it's like, I don't know, it's just, oh my God, we would have our mean girl moment, wouldn't we?
Right.
Yeah.
I that would be so fun.
Oh my, we do have something else to say. We have Lumpitan. Don't know if you
Okay,
guys know.
you
He
guys,
is so hot.
if you have never heard of his name, what are you doing with your life? Like he
Exactly.
was so iconic in Muinga Guy in like every Vietnamese series. Like you need to Google him up and just look at his face, look at his beautiful face, and tell me he didn't raise the bar for Vietnamese actors.
Right. He
Right.
is the reason why men whine about beauty standards being unattainable.
Right. Like he
So handsome.
Like he is the root of, impossible beauty standard in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like it was only like last month that we discovered him again. We
Like
totally forgot he existed until I brought up Moonga Guy, and then we typed his name in and we saw photos. Oh my god, this man is gorgeous. He's so hot.
I don't know why you guys are simping for TBS, Timothée Chalamet, Tom Holland, when you have Lương Thế Thành.
I'm sorry.
Wait,
I'm sorry, girl, but who is TBS? Is that BTS you want to say?
I don't know. Wait,
We could have had. We
what
could have
is
been
that? Wait, what
ratio.
is that?
Like
Is that BTS?
it's BTS.
Okay,
We could have been ratio. Okay. Do you know how like scary their fans are?
the army.
Yeah. Like how dare you get the biggest boy group in today's like the get? How can you get their name wrong? Like,
It's their fault. Like, why would you name your group something BTS? That sounds like a TV channel in Vietnam. Like
that's much better than like their actual name. That is just the abbreviation of their actual name. Do you know what's their actual name?
I don't know.
방탄소년단. So it's translated, it would be called Bulletproof Boys.
What the
Like,
fuck? Oh my
yeah, I
god.
know. So Bulletproof Boys. So like BTS is like 100 times better than their real name.
Yeah, like they should change the name or something. Army, don't come for me, okay?
Please don't come for us. Please don't report this account. Yeah, please. Anyways, I don't know why y'all simming for those people.
Like,
When
Lương
Lương
Thế
Thế
Thành
Thành,
is right there, right?
yeah,
And
he is still very handsome.
He's so handsome. He's so dreamy. He's so dreamy.
He got that James Dean daydream. He's so hot. And it's such a shame that this is a podcast and we cannot just insert a photo of him right now so that you can admire this beauty with us. Because I think if you're not simming over Lương Thế Thành, you ain't got no taste. Okay.
Well, unless you don't like men.
Got it. Gotcha. But Lương Thế Thành is really hot.
Right. If I had a time machine, I would go back in time and create like a fan page for Lương Thế Thành in high school and be like the president of Lương Thế Thành army or something.
Oh my god.
No.
I think yeah. Anyways, he's really hot. I don't know. I don't know if you know, but I think we have a type though, because we like Toya. We like tall.
Yeah, I
men.
do.
And we like he's Lulata is not really tall, but we like men who look kind of
Is
big.
he? I don't know. I've never met him in real life. I don't know. Toya looks so tall compared to Sakura. We're talking about Sakura, the card captor, obviously. And like I've always had this thing for Toya.
Mm-hmm.
Like
as
this
we
thing
all do.
about him, like is so. And I don't want to be with him, right? I want to be Sakura. I want to be his little sister. Like that's what I want, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to be with him because that's creepy. Like because it's weird. Because like now we're like older than him, and like he's still a teenager, and like it's so weird, right? Because in my mind he will always be my big brother. Like,
yeah, I don't want to. I have to admit that he is really hot. He's really hot, but I don't want to be his girlfriend or anything because obviously he is in love with Yukito. I don't know how I missed.
Like how could I miss that? Like they're so in love. They're so in love. I'm so sorry, but like, if you don't believe in their love, you are being homophobic. I am so sorry. Like
I'm so sorry. But like when I was little, I thought it was just like, oh my god, they're best friends. They are such good friends. And now I look at it now, I'm like, that is obviously gay. Like, like how could I not see that? And they're so cute together too. So I just want to be Sakura.
Like, what else? Yeah. But like you said that we had a type. But like I'm not sure I know what you mean.
I actually don't know what I meant. So I guess we just like handsome men.
Oh, you know what? I think our type is like unavailable men. This is why we cannot be in a real relationship.
I think it has more to do with the men that we have encountered. I think if I've met like a I don't know, someone that is like not problematic, that would be better. But it's true though. I don't know. Oh, I guess there's one more thing about me wishing I knew before I turned 20 is that relationships are difficult. Romantic relationships are difficult. I thought it would be cute. When I was in my teenage years, I thought like me and my boyfriend would be the cutest thing ever. I thought, oh yeah, it would solve every misery that I have. Because, I just need that one person that comes in and save me and, have fun with me and, oh, hug me when I'm sad and pick me up when it's rainy and dark. But now that I'm older, I realize that it's not really the solution.
Right.
And relationship are so much more difficult and just like more complex and just like a cuddle or like, oh yeah, have a kiss sometimes and hold hands and, put your hands in his pockets when it's cold. Like, yeah, sure, that's cute. But what maintained the relationship is just so difficult.
Yeah, no. Because I never been in a relationship, so I don't know.
I feel like I was a little ashamed of like having no romantic experience.
Right. And it kind of fucks with you because you think, oh, like I'm just so unlovable that.
Yeah, I thought it's like I'm not attractive or something like that.
Right.
And
But like at the same
I don't think
time,
that
we get
I don't,
like sexual harassment, which is like so fucking weird. Like
yeah,
like you feel like, so unlovable, but at the same time you get harassed, sexually harassed, and you feel like men are objectifying you and they see you in this like very sexual way. And it's just a weird place to be in. I'm still like kind of stuck in that situation because like I don't know if am I even lovable? Like I don't know, or am I
yeah.
even attractive? I don't know. And
I
it's
I think I am attractive. I'm
really
funny.
cute, right?
And
And like,
I'm attracting listeners to this podcast.
right,
And it's like the relationships are really difficult. And now that I have a chance to like get some experience and build really like romantic relationships with other people, I'm just like, "Ugh, this is so much work. Is it even worth it? Does it, do I really need this? Yeah. And then, like I felt like a little scared too, like, oh, what if we date and then he found out that I'm not really that attractive, I'm not really that funny or interesting to be with, and then
right. Like,
actually
what if they found out, how terrible I was when I was in high school to other people, right? Would they run away? Would they? Yeah, well,
yeah, which is like it's totally understandable if they knew about who I was and they sprint to the other direction. But that idea still kind of hurt.
this is why we have this podcast, because if they figure it out by themselves, they will be terrified. But if we expose ourselves before that, right? They'll be like, well, now you cannot run away because I expose myself, right? I acknowledge
Right.
it, right?
Yeah, like checkmate. Like
Right,
we got this covered first. We took care of this first.
right.
Yeah, there's also, I guess, if you're listening to this podcast, can you just please DM us and tell us like what you like about us?
Because like I don't know, like wait, but like is this bad? Because I was seeking validation from other people.
No, I'm not. Like, I'm just curious. Are we really serving them something like some
I feel
form of
like I feel
entertainment?
so insecure about me on this podcast because me on this podcast is obviously very different from me outside this
Right.
podcast, right? Um,
It's
like
true.
I feel like when I speak on this podcast, like I speak like differently, and it's so weird.
That's
But
true. That's very true.
I don't know what is that the same for you?
Yeah, I think outside of this podcast, I don't really talk that much. When people have fun or something, I'm just kind of like laughing along or like smile a little, but I don't really like crack a
No.
joke or start a conversation or anything.
Yeah, I'm not even that funny on this podcast, to be honest.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like I still feel very insecure about myself.
Yeah.
Even on this podcast, I'd be like, oh my God, like, what if people are gonna judge me? What if people think I'm like the weirdest person on this planet and like I should just shut up and like never do a podcast ever again.
Yeah.
What if they think that, right? And
And
like,
I'm also insecure about my voice. But if they find it's like just too high pitch or too low pitch or like just not the right pitch, And
I'm very insecure about my voice because my voice is like very jerky. When I speak, it's very jerky. It's not like very smooth and like it's like there's something that's kind of blocked my air, and I don't know why. Maybe it's just me having anxiety and but I'm very insecure with my voice, and like to me my voice is just insufferable. It's just I just cannot listen to my voice and like think, oh my god, I sound so good. Like it's just impossible. And like even when I sing, like okay, when I sing, it's a little bit better because I don't know, because it's a song. Like you can appreciate the music, right? At least you can do that. But even with my singing voice, I had like a pretty complicated relationship with it because like for so
yeah,
long, I cringe at it so much, right? Especially when I listen to it in a recording, I always cringe so much. But like now, not so much.
I think I'm
Fine.
pretty good at singing. I think we're like doing an okay job of singing. It's not offensive to anybody's ears.
Right.
We know, intonation and stuff. We get the pitch right, and that's all that matters. But I'm really insecure about the way I talk. I'm very insecure about my Vietnamese because when I listen to our episodes, I feel like I don't speak fluently. I repeat
Do
stuff a lot,
Okay, so if
and
that's, what you feel about your Vietnamese, about your speaking, what about me? It's like there's something block my air and like I just cannot speak and it feels so frustrating and like exhausting to speak, even if it's a very simple phrase. And like sometimes I didn't get it right. Even in English, like it doesn't improve that much. So that's why I know it's not about the language and it's more about just the way I speak in general. And I don't know if that's the same for you.
no, because when I listen to our episodes, like it's pretty clear to me that the way you phrase your sentence just makes a lot more sense. Like
What are you talking about? Because for me, it's the opposite. Like for me, the
I mean,
way
I
you
guess
form the sentences are like so clear, and that you speak like so fluently, and like
it's
the
the opposite for
sense.
me. And also, you use like words that I don't know existed in Vietnamese.
Like for example, what?
I can't recall it right now. Sometimes that happens. I like.
It's the same for me too. Because when you say "nhìn thấu hồng trần," like I didn't know that phrase before.
I think I
Um,
picked that up from Thầy Lam. So
yeah, like there's so many times I was like, oh, that sounds so much more Vietnamese, right? Or something. And at this point, I just know that it's not about the language and it's more about the way that I speak. And like I
yeah.
just have some problem with my speaking. I don't know why. And like it makes my speaking sound so jerky. My speech sounds so weird and unpleasant to the ears. And I just cannot imagine someone listen to that and be like, oh, this sounds fine or it sounds good. Like it's just impossible for me to
Yeah,
imagine
same.
that.
Just find my voice really annoying, which is weird because like I don't think that about your voice. I think like I think you're sounding just fine, just great, and you're
Are you
speaking clearly and
are you
fluently.
kidding? Like I
Yeah.
feel the opposite. Like I feel like, oh my God, your voice is just so
See, I think it's
normal.
a matter of like perspective. We have had listeners DMing us and telling us that they like our voices or they enjoy the podcast,
Like
they
what the
enjoy.
fuck? Like I was like so shocked when somebody said that. I was
I know.
like I can
I was like that
understand for
too.
your voice, right? I can understand like oh if people like when like her voice and like, how she talks. I just cannot imagine like anybody saying something good about my voice or the way I talk, the way I express myself, the way that I
Hmm.
sound. Like it's just impossible for me. And I don't know why I have this super
Hmm.
complex and complicated relationship with my voice. Whereas, voice is so important to us. It's so vital. It's the way that we express ourselves. It's so important because like nobody see our faces, right? They only hear our
Yeah, it's
voices,
like
right?
this is basically our job
Like,
to
this is
sound good.
right.
And
And
I
like
don't
I
know,
just
I feel
cannot feel
so
confident about
weird
my
about it.
voice. Like it's just impossible when I speak. And I don't know why people seem to like my voice. Like when I
Yeah.
like outside the podcast, like in my day-to-day life, people seem to like my voice. Well, there were two teachers, well, lecturers, and they complimented me on my voice. And I was like, what are you talking about? My voice is so weird. And like I just cannot speak, right? And
It was
to
really weird. It was people said that to me too. Not in the podcast, but in real life, I'm much softer.
like people
I'm
say that
like
to me
very
like
soft and
I'm pretty sure like even though like this person didn't say it explicitly, I
mhm.
knew that they kind of appreciate my voice, right? And they at least didn't have any problem with that. And I can
Yeah.
feel that in the way that they talk to me. But
Right.
I just
'Cause why
cannot
would
imagine that. Like, why would you?
right?
That's my problem. Okay, like I just cannot imagine people think highly of me. I just cannot take compliment, right? And like I guess it's the same for you too. And it hurts me so much that when you post like something negative about yourself, I just cannot.
And it's just like really, I don't
It's
know.
so
I think
weird. And like now we're feeling that about ourselves and about each
others.
other, and like
Yeah.
but like in the opposite way. And it's such a vicious cycle and we cannot get out of this. And like if
Yeah.
any of you like any of the listeners, if any of you have any tip at all, please drop it in the DM or in the comment section down below, because we are so desperate for tip to feel confident about ourselves. Like this is something that I wish I could tell my younger self about, like how to feel confident about yourself, like
Yeah.
how to
I
raise your
don't,
self-esteem. When
I
I
used
was
to
in
be
high school,
more,
I was so insecure. Like right now, I'm still so insecure about my voice, about the way I speak, about the way I look, about the way I do things, about my whole being as a person. And I like this is why this episode doesn't make sense, right? Because a lot of things that we wish we know the answer to, we
we still
don't.
don't know the
We,
answer
we
to.
don't. Like we just
We still
don't, right?
there's
And
so
like
many things. It wasn't that long, since our teenage years. You're
right,
only
and like at
22.
the same time, in a weird way, I feel like I've grown so much. And at the same time, I feel anxious, insecure
I
about
know.
myself.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel so excited for the growth that I know I'm gonna do in the future. I
Well,
know I'm gonna grow so much in the future, and I cannot wait to be a more mature version of myself. Like, but at the
I
same
don't
time, I feel
really
so
have
insecure.
that
And
right
like,
now.
it's so conflicted. Like, like the one word that can represent, what I feel about myself and and who I am and who I will be would be conflicted or contradictory, right? And I guess like it's the same for everyone, but I don't know when you turn on the radio, turn on the radio. Well, apparently I'm in the 1990s. Okay. When you go on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, on social media in general, people are either like very depressed, like feel very insecure about themselves, or they feel like super confident in themselves, like giving out advice, right? And there's nothing in between. And like I feel like I'm like that. I'm in between. And like where are those people who are like us, who are like me, who are in between of that kind of spectrum, who feel insecure and like negative about themselves, but at the same time know they have grown so much and like are proud of themselves. Like where are you guys? Raise your hand, like because I don't see you guys enough, right?
Can't really relate to that because I'm the on the other end of the spectrum, but I feel so insecure about myself. And yeah, like
But
I
like,
don't.
do you feel proud of yourself for having grown so much?
It depends on the day, but I feel like that is kind of overshadowed by the feeling of like
Mhm.
feeling hurt
Yeah. Well, it's
of
the
the
same for me.
person
Like,
that I
I'm not,
was.
obviously, I'm not
Um,
like talking about like 50-50, right? It can be
yeah,
anything in between, right? Just
but
like
not
not
really.
0 or 100.
I no, I don't feel proud or anything.
Oh,
I
really?
just feel like it's just more like I should have done this earlier.
Sometimes I
Should
do
have
feel
been there
that,
in the first
right?
place.
But like when I look at other people and like how immature they still are and like how badly behaved they are to other people now, I can't help but feeling a bit, at least I'm not like that. Oh, thank God I've grown out that. Thank God I've broken out of that relationship or this relationship so that I can grow so much, right? And I'm not the person that I used to be anymore, right? Do you know like Facebook, they have this feature like looking back of like this day
Yeah,
last year or
yeah.
the last
It
2 years,
is hell. I hate
like
it so
2 years
much.
ago or like 3 years ago. Like I recently I do that a lot because it's so humbling to remind yourself like, oh, that's who you used to be, right? And I was like, oh, thank, it was so cringy, but it's at the same time so empowering. Like, oh, thank God I've grown out of that. Thank God I've become a better version of myself. Because when you think of yourself, you only have your memories, right? But this is like the real raw proof of how immature you were, how toxic you were to other people. And like it's very humbling to be reminded of that sometimes. And like, it's very cringy, but at the same time, it kind of helped me in a way to feel like better about myself recently. So I would definitely recommend that. And like just now it's kind of like a ritual for me, like to go back and like delete like old posts that I post like
God.
7 years ago. It was so cringy, right? I
Oh my
remember
God.
like, planning like this whole scheme to humiliate this one person in eighth grade, I think. Like that was so cringy and that was so toxic. Yeah. It's good to be reminded of how bad you were.
Yeah, but like I don't know. I'm not there yet. I feel like I'm just like on the other dead end. And a lot of things happening in my life right now, to be honest. And it's just
Right.
like it just makes everything worse because I don't know what kind of scientist I'm going to be. And
Okay, I don't even know what profession I'm gonna do in the
here's the
future because
thing.
I'm so clueless about my future.
Yeah,
And like,
the thing is like I'm actively doing research,
oh yeah.
within the science field. And the process of participating in science research just makes me doubt myself a lot.
Mm.
And it's just like a really tough round.
Like about your
And
competence.
yeah, and it's like I get humbled like pretty much every day, right? Which is fine. Like I don't have the trouble with like learning the science or anything, but it just makes me feel like how much longer can I do this?
Right. But
It's
it's
like,
so it's just so hard being a human being. Do you want to wrap this up?
yeah, sure. Thank you for listening. If you've listened to this point, this is really just another rant, and I hope you've learned something. I hope that we told you something you didn't know, and I hope you can also provide us with some suggestion.
Right. I'm not expecting, our listeners to know it all, but I would really appreciate if, we can have a conversation about whatever we talk about on this podcast. Okay, this sounds like a brag, but I think all the topics on this podcast are pretty important, right? Okay, sexual harassment, important. Greenwashing, environment, important.
Yeah.
Bullying, important.
Mm,
Veganism, kind of important, right?
yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Parody.
very
Yeah,
important.
very important. The memes are like, the core of
Essential.
this.
Like,
And anyways, that was like a terrible fail to wrap up this podcast. But I'm wrapping it up now. So goodbye.
my